the best people in his administration since taking office for a second term. It used to be the mantra of Trump 1 that he was going to surround himself with the best people, but the qualifications to be in Trump's cabinet have significantly changed since then. Now, all you have to do is be a former Fox host or go on the propaganda outlet enough that you act like an actual Fox host. But there's one other key qualification that you need besides constant media attention, and that is loyalty to Trump. You have to serve your dear leader first, and that is why Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are now in an all-out brawl, because in an effort for both of them to do so, they have ended up at each other's throats, with Bondi losing her mind as the Epstein scandal brings them both down. And we are going to get into that MAGA civil war, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into how Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are going at each other and want each other fired, I want to start with the latest action Pam Bondi has done to try to win favor with the dear leader, and that is her attack on James Comey.
Former FBI director and outspoken Trump critic James Comey is expected to be indicted by the Department of Justice in the coming days. At this point, it's not even clear what Comey would be charged with. Sources tell MSNBC that one component may be an allegation of lying to Congress almost exactly 5 years ago during testimony about whether he authorized a leak. And that 5-year anniversary is actually quite important here. Comey's congressional testimony at issue was September 30th, 2020, as you see, given there remotely, which means that the 5-year statute of limitations expires next Tuesday, September 30th, 2020. If this Department of Justice, the Trump Department of Justice, wants to charge Comey with this dubious crime, well, it needs to do so before then. Both Comey's lawyer and spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office declined comment to MSNBC, but this looks on its face like a wildly blatant abuse of the justice system, certainly far exceeding anything that we have ever seen since Watergate, at least. It's the culmination of an explicit, in the open effort to use the Department of Justice to persecute and prosecute Trump's political opponents and perceived enemies. Not for crimes they have actually committed, not motivated by some events or facts that come to light, investigations, not because of the facts or the law, but from a desire, oft-stated by the President of the United States, to punish people who criticize him publicly. I mean, just look at the facts as we know them so far. This indictment is expected to come from the Eastern District of Virginia, and of course, that would be the same jurisdiction where prosecutor Eric Siebert was pushed out just last week for refusing to bring bogus charges against New York Democratic Attorney General Letitia James and for raising doubts about the investigation into Comey as well. Siebert was then replaced with one of Trump's former personal lawyers. Lindsay Halligan is a 36-year-old Florida insurance lawyer with absolutely no experience as a prosecutor, has never prosecuted a single case, but who is presumably willing to bring whatever charges the president wants, regardless of the evidence. This appears to be the reason she's being installed. Again, this isn't happening behind closed doors. It's happened right out in the open. Trump said he wanted the Siebert out, right, to the cameras. And then in a directive to Attorney General Pam Bondi that may or may not have been intended to be a private message, but was posted publicly, Trump wrote, quote, "Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time, all talk, no action, nothing is being done. What about Comey? Adam, Shifty Schiff, Letitia, they're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done." Adding, quote, "We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. President DJT."
Now, you don't have to like James Comey in the same way that you didn't have to watch every episode of Jimmy Kimmel's show. But what is clear is that he is a victim of the expansion of Donald Trump's authoritarian takeover. And there's a reason he's going after Comey. He knows liberals don't really want to defend him. Republicans certainly don't. Donald Trump has done a good job throughout his presidency picking good enemies. People who aren't going to rile us up, who aren't going to have the sympathies of the media. Now, that certainly wasn't the case with Jimmy Kimmel. That was a pretty bad move by Donald Trump. But there is a reason that he is going after Comey. And Part of the reason Bondi is because after Donald Trump made what seemed like a text public about how she has to ramp up the attacks on political opponents, it looks like she's willing to do anything. And the reason why has been made a little bit more clear, with reporting suggesting the civil war happening between her and Kash Patel over the Epstein Files. Paranoid Pam Bondi raged about Keystone Cash over Epstein crisis. Attorney General Pam Bondi claimed that Kash Patel's FBI was trying to destroy her by leaking information about the battle raging with the Trump administration over the Jeffrey Epstein case. Bondi has faced months of criticism over the failure to provide new revelations in the case, which White House officials mistakenly thought would blow over quickly, according to the Wall Street Journal. A series of key missteps has helped keep what is arguably Donald Trump's most hated issue squarely in the spotlight, with many of the MAGA faithful blaming Bondi for the fiasco and demanding she be fired. When Bondi complained to the White House about the criticism, Trump essentially told her to toughen up, according to the Journal. Other officials told her to stop looking at social media and lashing out at the people who were posting. But Bondi told the White House officials that FBI leadership, including Patel, was out to get her and was leaking information about internal disputes. Administration officials who tried to broker peace concluded the situation had gotten out of control because both sides had screwed up, sources told the Wall Street Journal. Bondi downplayed the conflict in a statement to the Journal. Our priority is to continue working together with the FBI to make America safer by ensuring murderers and violent criminals face the most severe justice. She said Patel and the Bureau have worked tirelessly with my agency and state partners, she added. Tirelessly, you say? Pam, really? That's what Kash Patel has been doing, working tirelessly? I think he's been clubbing tirelessly. I think he's been out at Nobu and Carbone a lot in New York. Do you know that's what he was doing? He was having dinner that went into the next day. It took him like 24 or 48 hours about to get to Utah after his best friend in the world, Charlie Kirk's shooting. That's how little Kash Patel cared. That's how little anyone in this administration cared. Got to make that point pretty clear. But it is obvious that the Epstein fight is really getting to both Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, and of course it is. They have screwed over Donald Trump royally. They don't know what to do. Trump is furious. He demands their loyalty. He demands they fix it all. And really the only option they have is to throw one of them under the bus. So I'm really wondering who it's going to be at this point, because Donald Trump seems to have lots of problems with Pam over-promising and under-delivering. So I don't know how we have a world in which somehow Kash Patel gets to keep his job, but it might look like Pam Bondi could lose hers. That is the place that we are at with the Epstein scandal. That is the place we are at with this incompetent administration, because we have a crybaby president who is furious when everything doesn't always go his way. And Lawrence O'Donnell broke that down right here.
Well, the breaking news of the night, reported by MSNBC's Ken Delanian, who will join our coverage this hour, is that federal prosecutors have written a memo arguing against trying to charge former FBI Director James Comey with crimes. Donald Trump has publicly demanded that James Comey be charged with lying to Congress, which is only possible in the next 6 days before the statute of limitations would run out and make it impossible to charge James Comey on that. This week, Donald Trump forced out the U.S. attorney who he personally installed in the Eastern District of Virginia after that U.S. attorney refused to try to bring charges against James Comey. Donald Trump replaced that U.S. attorney with a woman who has never tried a case of any kind in federal court and has never been a prosecutor, but did serve as one of the lowest-ranking members of Donald Trump's criminal defense team. Donald Trump's attempt to illegitimately use federal power, including federal prosecutorial power, literally knows no bounds in either direction. There's no rule too small for Donald Trump to break and no rule too big for Donald Trump to break. And as you just heard today, Donald Trump had a statue of him and his pal Jeffrey Epstein removed from the National Mall, where the statue had a permit to appear this week until Sunday at 8 p.m. The National Park Service removed the statue this morning, as they said, due to it not being in compliance with the permit. But the National Park Service refuses to say how the statue was not in compliance. It's a 12-foot tall statue, as you just saw, bronze painted statue of Donald Trump and the man who said he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years, the sex trafficker and raper of children, Jeffrey Epstein, who Donald Trump said was a terrific guy. The two men are holding hands in the statue and smiling at each other. That statue made Donald Trump the first president in history to have a statue of himself placed in Washington during his presidency. The National Park Service possibly violating its own permit rules to take down the statue is the least, as we said, of Donald Trump's abuses of presidential power. Last night, in a special election, voters in Arizona gave our first guest tonight one more member of the Democratic team in the House of Representatives. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries will be joined on the House floor by Democrat Adelita Grijalva, who won a special election for the House seat held by her father, Congressman Raul Grijalva, until his death in March of this year. That means one more signature for the discharge petition that can force a vote in the House of Representatives to release the Epstein files. Semaphore reports that Republican Congressman Thomas Massie is, quote, declaring victory on his move to force a vote on releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files after the election to fill a vacant Arizona House seat. And he says House Speaker Mike Johnson and some of the powers that be in D.C. are in full panic right now about it. They came back and tried to get the four of us to take our names off the petition, Massie told Semaphore after an event in his northern Kentucky district. They asked some of my colleagues who are co-signers, and they actually threatened them politically, not physically. Massie said if Johnson uses parliamentary tactics to evade a vote, that there's enough notoriety on this issue that people will know that he's sweeping this under the rug. He also said if there is language included in a bill to sideline the petition, those who vote for that bill are part of the cover-up.
This is an administration fundamentally in crisis. Donald Trump wants us to believe that he is inevitable, that he can't be stopped, but he can. He's constantly losing. He's losing in court, in the court of public opinion, as his approval rating continues to collapse. And so Donald Trump can be beaten. We just have to take up that mantle and fight back. And we're certainly going to be on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show in a different way, you can become a free or paid subscriber to my Substack, link below or right here. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.